In this video, guys, I want to share with you one of the perfect examples of what may be coming to the short sellers in AMC and potentially GameStop. Yeah, because the market is changing. And whenever the market is changing, either because you have a new regulation coming in, like we've been seeing Chinese stocks and tech stocks fall solidly lately this week and last week as well. Okay, so talking about Uber shares that tumble as SoftBank plans to sell shares to cover Didi's losses. All right. If you don't know, pretty much everybody knows what Uber is. Okay, ride-sharing company in the US internationally. Now, SoftBank, it's a big bank, and they invested heavily in Uber because they believed that Uber was gonna be a game changer. All right. So Didi, if you don't know, it's a Chinese company, but they do exactly what Uber is doing here in the US. It's also a ride-sharing company. And SoftBank, as they invested heavily in Uber, okay, because they believe that was going to be a game changer, they also invested heavily in Didi. But Didi isn't it's a new player, it's a new public company trading in the US market. Now, last week, most of the tech companies were falling, talking about a major sell-off every single day for 2 weeks in a row, 4%, 3%, 4%, 6%. And Didi was part of that. So SoftBank is now selling about a third of its stake in private transportation company Uber to cover the losses that they're now experiencing from the investment in the Chinese ride-sharing company Didi. Two people familiar with the matter told to CNBC. They are planning on selling 45 million shares, which will be locked for 30 days. This is a major sell-off. They are divesting, pretty much. They are divesting a big chunk. 45 million shares, it's big money. So no wonder about 4%, of the share price fell last week right after this report. But the thing is, SoftBank's already lost about $4 billion on its Didi position in total so far. So what does it tell us about what may happen in a very similar way to Citadel? When you look at the origin of this crackdown on tech companies, on the Chinese stocks as a whole, was because of the regulation that the Chinese government is trying to implement in the market. And because of that, whenever you have a new change, especially talking about regulation, people will panic and they will withdraw money from their investments. And that's why you have, stock price dumping 4%, 3%, 6%. Now, when you have a company like SoftBank, who is a major investor in Didi and Uber, if you are overly extended, whether you are overly extended on margin or not, when you're losing $4 billion on a position on a single stock on such a quick amount of time, of course, you will be looking around on your portfolio, you will be looking around on your other stocks, trying to see how you can move something around in order to either limit the risk or raise some capital, because again, margin calls, hey, we've been talking about this multiple times now, that the margin calls, the margin levels are really above the standards since the beginning of this year. So in the case of Citadel and AMC, we know they went out of their way. Synthetics, which people like Wes Christian believe they might not, you will not be surprised if they are around 5 to 20 billion shares. Guys, do you see that? 5 to 20 billion shares all happening in dark pools, in ATS, in secondary book systems. No wonder, since regulation is coming. Yes, guys, you might think the rules are not enforced yet, but again, I'm an optimistic and I believe the SEC is taking the time necessary in order to build a solid case, because they know who they are going against. They know what they're going against, okay? So they are making sure the job is being done properly. Now, when I told you that regulation is coming, it's not only from the SEC, it's also from the lawmakers. Yes, the US House, it's now making progress. Usually these guys are not even working as fast, but it seems like going the pace of the progress so far, they are really working in order to bring some game changer rules here, talking about 12 laws. 12 laws that they want to pass in order to crack down this whole fuckery happening in, retail investors' orders, especially payment for order flow. So when this happens, or when you look at things like the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to start special measures to avoid breaching debt limit, and possibly we'll be looking at making sure that suspending sales of security that helps states and municipalities invest bond proceeds. I wouldn't be surprised if companies like Citadel, or other big hedge funds or short sellers are in here. No wonder why we also see recently major like BlackRock, like Schwab, okay, major ETF, major mutual fund, major investors in the market adding to their positions on AMC. Do you think this is just a coincidence? No, personally, I don't. And that's why I think the fact that we are seeing SoftBank selling their Uber in order to cover for the loss they have on Didi, it will come to the same extent to where Citadel will be forced, because of the market conditions, because of the apes buying and holding, because of the regulation, they'll be forced to deleverage. Deleverage means cover in this case, because they are short selling AMC. They are short selling this to oblivion, and it means buying back to hundreds of millions, possibly billions of shares. All right. So just to give you a sneak peek of what we could be expecting. Now, the question is when? Nobody knows, and I won't be, I won't sit here in front of you guys and say it's going to happen this date. No, because nobody knows. But the good thing is we have way more catalysts, in favor of people who are buying and holding AMC, and definitely about to experience something that never happened in the whole history of the US markets.